Hi friends, Tony here of TL Yarn Crafts, and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to do an applied I-cord edging in crochet. I've always admired I-cord edgings in knitting projects and wanted to bring that effect to crochet. And here we are. You'll need a couple extra tools to get started, including a locking stitch marker and a knitting needle tip or a cable needle that's the same size as your crochet hook. We'll start by working on the right side of our work, and we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch of our edge with our border color. After the slip stitch, we're going to chain 4 and pick up a loop in the second chain from the hook in each remaining chain. You now have 4 loops on your hook. Pick up a loop in the next stitch of your edge and you have 5 loops on your hook. Now you want to pick up your knitting needle and transfer 4 loops from your hook onto your knitting needle. Here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And place the 5th loop onto a locking stitch marker. We're going to grab our hook again and transfer 1 loop from our needle to our hook and chain 1. Next, transfer the next loop from your needle to your hook and chain 1. And finally, grab the last 2 loops from your knitting needle to your hook and pull up a loop in both of those loops together. Next, pull up a loop in the next stitch on your edge. This step anchors your I-cord to your project and you have 4 loops on your hook. Moving on, we're going to transfer 3 of those loops from our hook onto our needle. And we're going to chain 1 in the loop that's still on our hook. Transfer the next loop from your needle to your hook and chain 1, and then pull those last 2 loops from your needle to your hook and pull up a loop in those 2 loops together, and then pull up a loop in the next stitch on your project. And we'll repeat those steps across our edge. Transferring 3 loops onto our knitting needle, chain 1 of the loop that's still on your hook, transfer 1 loop, chain 1, transfer 2 loops, and pull up a loop through both, and then pull up a loop in the next stitch on your edge. It's important to keep your tension in mind as you're transferring stitches, that your tension's not too tight, because if your I-cord is too tight, you're going to have some buckling and some puckering on the edge of your project, which you definitely don't want. So definitely practice before you apply this border to your finished project. I've continued my I-cord steps across my edge, and now I'm towards the end and I only have 1 stitch left on my edge. So I'm completing all my steps as normal, transferring my loops and doing my chains. Now I'm going to pull up a loop in the last stitch on my edge. To finish up this part of my I-cord, I'm going to transfer 2 loops from my hook onto my knitting needle. And then I'm going to slip stitch with the 2 loops that are on my hook. Then I'm going to transfer the next loop and slip stitch that as well. Transfer the final loop, slip stitch that also. And now I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving about a 4-inch tail, and pull that loop up and out of my work. Just like this. Now we don't want to weave in this end just yet. We're going to do something else with it. At this point, I've gone back to the beginning of my I-cord row, dropped the locking stitch marker, and inserted my hook. On the back side of your I-cord, you're going to see these live loops, and you're just going to slip stitch through each of those loops, making sure you keep your tension fairly loose. You don't want to pull the loops, just slip stitch them through. And this is going to make the nice clean braided backside of your i-cord. So just slip stitch into each of those live loops to close up your i-cord. Just a couple more here. And after your last slip stitch, you're just going to slip stitch with your leftover tail. Pull that loop up and out of your work. And there is your bouncy, stretchy, gorgeous crocheted i-cord. Enjoy!